Live on YouTube as well. Oh, man. Here we go.
Live everywhere.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Magic Mics, proudly sponsored by our Patreon supporters and CoolStuffInc.com, where you can find cool stuff in stock every day. And we get started as we do each week by saying hello to my two co-hosts, Aaron Campbell.
Bonsoir.
Ruben Bressler.
Oh, hi. How are you?
Oh, hey. What's up, bruh?
Good to see you guys again.
Yeah, it's a good thing that, like, you know, nothing happened today.
Yeah, we're going to have another...
This
we're gonna be
evening.
short on topics.
Like... Get done, you know, finish dinner, go to computer, find the most ridiculous and incredible news that I've seen as a Magic player in a long time. And in so long, I mean, it's not unprecedented, and we'll get to it. But first, we're going to talk about a giveaway, okay? So we give away stuff here, and it is release week. It's still officially release week. Amonkhet comes out on Friday, and that's pretty exciting. So we're going to give away an entire booster box. Every release week, we are going to give away a booster box of that product. And this is for standard products, not because, you know, like Modern Masters or whatever.
Right.
But for all standard sets,
I
know, we're all standard sets, you get in a free booster box. Now, we can't ship them internationally because Wizards won't let you do that. So if somebody international wins, then I'll give them...
Too bad. You got to come get it from our house.
Then you're all done. I'll hold it right here and wait on you. No, we'll give you a gift certificate for the same amount of the booster box. All right, so I've got the link out there. You can go in there, enter that. We want to give away a booster box. It's going to be great. I screwed up the original giveaway because I was too excited about it. We were going to totally troll with giving away foil copies of Felidar Guardian. So, let's just back up so we can get everything in frame here. Okay, it's Monday morning. It's nice. No one that really has a case of the Mondays because a B&R list update's coming, and Lord knows... Wizards would never be okay with more Splinter Twin-esque combos in Standard. They would absolutely kill them. There's no way they're not getting rid of that dumb combo. It's completely ridiculous. And so, up the B&R list went. And I bring it on the screen here. Standard, no changes. And everybody peed a little. Just a small amount. Just a tiny... It just came right out, and they couldn't stop it.
Then they rubbed their eyes and moved a little closer to the computer screen to make sure that they weren't getting tricks played on them.
Exactly. And so Modern had no changes, which was expected. Legacy, Sensei's Divining Top is banned.
Yeah, we did it. Reddit, we figured it out.
We got there.
Good job. Up top, Reddit. High five.
We'll get back to that in just a minute. I just want to go through it. So in Vintage, Jataxian Probe is restricted because that card is dumb.
I'm sorry. Did you say Jataxian?
Yeah, I say Jataxian.
It's Gitaxian, you weirdo.
It's
Gitaxian.
Yeah, it's
Gitation.
Gation.
That's one of my coworkers at Tales of Adventure used to say. Gitation probe. It's not that. It's Gitaxian probe.
I don't care. You know, we did. Well, look, actually, I do care because the GIF and the GIFers draw me insane.
It's pronounced sigil, not sigil. It's pronounced wyvern. Yes. I guess you can say wyvern if you really want to.
Let's keep moving. Gitaxian Probe is restricted. Gush is also restricted. The Monastery Mentor free spell thing was just ridiculous.
Gush Gitaxian Probe Mentor was ridiculous.
So let's cut to...
It's Josh, by the way.
It is Josh. The Magic community lost their mind. Every pro lamented the change. I was pissed, and I just went off with something like, this is the biggest mistake I've seen Wizards make in a long time. And I think I stand behind that. I still think it was a ridiculous mistake to say, yeah, this is still okay. Amonkhet's totally going to fix this.
Right.
So, lots of teeth gnashing, lots of people trying to figure it out, lots of people bringing up ideas of why they would do that. You know, maybe something in Amonkhet really is going to break it, yada, yada, yada. And then there was a savior. There was a white knight here that I don't think a lot of people saw coming. And not only did not a lot of people saw coming, it actually provided the impetus for them to do what they just did.
Right.
Tonight, Wednesday, April 26, 2017, they have retroactively added Felidar Guardian back to the banned and restricted list.
Good.
We did it, everybody. We did it. Oh my God! It's incredible.
I really liked your reasoning that you spelled out that I didn't really figure out until you figured it out for me, which was a lot of this has to do with Magic Online's implementation of Amonkhet a week earlier than normal.
That's your White Knight. The White Knight that showed up was Amonkhet was available the Monday after the pre-release. All the product was open, all the tournaments were ran, all the 8Q, all the MNQs, all the leagues, and it was happening. Yeah. And what I heard, my initial sort of things that I heard when this happened, when it was on Magic Online, was that Glorybringer was now being played in the Saheeli deck because it was amazing. Not only in the mirror, but just as a good card in general, to kill Gideons and whatnot. So that was a thing, and that was kind of scary. It's like, it made it even better. People were talking about Censor, might have even made it better than that.
Right.
And so, next thing you know, thanks to this data, it wasn't just people were pissed. Now, I do think that was clearly a part of it, and people
a lot of it was the social media
pissed.
Reaction, but yes.
But they had data now. They could say, look, not only did it get bad, it got worse. So in this second banned and restricted announcement that just showed up this evening, which is absolutely insane, effective this Friday and this Thursday for Magic Online, Felidar Guardian is banned. It's gone. It's gone from Standard, and it's done. And why are they making this call now? And why didn't they include it? Well, the answer is data, they say. They knew going into Monday that the Saheeli Felidar combo was a significant issue, and they were watching it. The rationale was to make sure we only needed to take one and only one action to correct the standard environment. If only someone had told them what that action was for weeks now. Okay,
well,
keep going.
Sure.
Our plan was to monitor early play behavior, and make a call after the Pro Tour, which is okay. They had another BNR announcement in 5 weeks. This was kind of what the whole system was set up for. However, people were pissed and sad and upset. And so here they say, for the first time ever, they pre-released a new card set on Magic Online before the formal release date. And basically they said, what we expect to take a few weeks to understand has ended up taking 2 days to form a clear picture of a metagame unbalanced by the copycat combo. Really? And as its natural predator, Mardu vehicles fell behind. Weird, huh? Couple this with the consensus among a wide sampling of pros and feedback and pizza that was sent to their office, written things with things written on it from our community.
The pizza with the box was hilarious.
The pizza with the box was insane. So the win-loss ratio actually increased. Of course it did, because it just added the best cards from the new set into its ridiculous combo. And they never take the decision lightly, and so on and so forth. We understand, and here's kind of here's the real responsibility taken here at the end. We also understand we shouldn't let combos like Saheeli Felidar get out the door in the first place, and that's true. And if they do, don't.
Fix it.
For that we take ownership and are making changes to try to prevent this from happening again. I would read that as there is now an official little checkbox that R&D has to check, which is, have you checked for infinite combos? Have you checked for infinite combos? Okay,
particularly with cards that untap things or blink things, because those are always the 2-card combos that they miss somehow.
Right. So they're gonna, they're gonna have that little checkbox from now on. I can assure you. Their highest priority is to keep Magic fun, which is true. They believe in banning, coupled with a number of internal testing process improvements, will be significant steps toward making standard fun and awesome, and that's cool. And we talked about it last week. It's like there's only so much they can do before they throw a game to millions of players. And those millions of players grind out all the good things and find all the broken interactions. But having a Splinter Twin-esque combo in Standard, it's weird. It's still weird to me. I'm glad that we're not in this situation of, like, it's still not banned and there's this, like, really doom and gloom coming into the Pro Tour, which is great. But, man, it's weird for them to argue that this is okay. It's not okay in Modern, but it's okay in Standard to have 2 cards and 7 mana that instantly win. And I mean, how many times at Cool Stuff I would hear these people like, I had Liliana ultimated, I had 7 zombies, I had everything out, and then the guy said Saheeli Guardian and I'm dead. And then I packed up my stuff and I went home because I didn't want to play Standard anymore because it was ridiculous. There was no skill. It was just, I got these 2 cards and we're finished. So what do you guys think about, this emergency only done since Memory Jar, which was in, like, the 90s. So,
yeah, the fact that the 2 emergency standard banned cards are Felidar Guardian and freaking Memory Jar is really funny. And this is just such a weird thing to be put into, and it's all domino effect, right? Because this is all as a result of Standard not rotating when we thought it would rotate. So they haven't tested this Standard format. They didn't plan for this Felidar Guardian Saheeli combo to be even in the format that it was in, even intended to be in, and now they just have it for, or we're going to have it for another 6 months. I mean, it makes a bunch of sense, and I'm glad that they did it. It is really strange to have 4 cards banned from Standard again. That's just a bizarre world to be living in. And to go back to the White Knight scenario, if you recall, we talked about who was perhaps leading the charge to get Amonkhet online quickly, and so we have one more time to blame/praise Worth for being able to get this information out there in such a way that led to the banning of Felidar Guardian and have a watchable Pro Tour.
It's
and a playable Standard.
It's clear that players like that a whole bunch, because they just announced that they had the most online concurrent players ever, and that program's been around 15 years.
Yeah, if you went on Twitch the night that if you went on Twitch Monday night, I mean, that was the most people I had ever seen streaming Magic, and they were all drafting. Like, a majority of them were drafting, and it was really great to see. It was good press for the game, and before all of this happens.
Right. And so I will mention, as Chad has correctly noted, that Splinter Twin was in Standard for a while.
Yeah.
But didn't have as many issues as this one does, and doesn't have the resiliency.
Well, there's a number of reasons for that.
Sure.
There were a number of reasons why Splinter Twin was kept in check. A lot of it was because, it shared a format with Jace and Stoneforge Mystic for a little while, and Birthing Pod, and other just insanely powerful effects that could interact with Twin. And so Twin was quite good, and for a while was the best deck. But it's not like Felidar Guardian 4-color Saheeli, where even if you block out the combo, you just have all of these value cards to just get yourself back into the game and set the combo up again.
Well, you bring up a really good point, Ruben, in that, it's a perfect storm of the combo itself being strong, and something that we've talked about a lot on this show is the lack of good answers, the lack of good hate. You mentioned that there were stop gaps in place to sort of keep Splinter Twin from getting out of hand in Standard, and that's something that's sorely missing from Standard right now. And I think that if there were better answers, we wouldn't be here.
I mean, for God's sake,
feel
they had Dismember, remember?
Yeah, I do feel like it's a 50-50 part of that problem. This is just it's so insane to me that this was the straw that broke the camel's back. I mentioned this a little bit when the Golgari Grave Troll ban happened, of the lack of transparency, of really wondering what their process is when they make these decisions. Where are you getting this information from? How are you compiling it? And we may never know. But to say that you needed more data, even a cursory look at your own deck list, if you look at the GP event pages from the past couple of months, if you look at the Star City Games Open Series events from the past couple of months, if you look at it wasn't rocket science to see that this deck was incredibly powerful. And, to say that you needed more time, to say that you needed this one night, and I'm not convinced this one night really was. Who's sniffing?
Sorry, that was me. I have a boogie.
Okay. But, to say that this one night was sort of the deal breaker, who's to say that card availability wasn't an issue? Even the first week of the Open Series, when a new set comes out, better than to expect a new set to make a huge splash because not everybody has the cards. And so it's just insane to me that this is what it took, that, it took pros boycotting the Pro Tour, Frank Lepore, Brian Killer saying, we just won't go. It took this, never mind all the data that already existed. I don't see how you didn't know this and that you needed this to do that for you. I think that's ridiculous.
Right. And I think one of the best explanations, not to mention, first of all, Splinter Twin was only in Standard for about 3 months. Secondly, you can't cast Splinter Twin. This is from user Mystic Owl on Twitch, who I think makes the best points. You can't cast Splinter Twin on an empty board. In this combo, either piece can be cast first. Either piece can just live out there and do stuff, and then, oops, I got the other half of it, and you're dead.
Exactly. And also gain value on their own. Like, if you just have a Rogue Refiner sitting in play, both Saheeli and Felidar Guardian give you more value. As opposed to Splinter Twin Deceiver Exarch, which are kind of crap on their own.
I think this is, and I really appreciate the fact that, Aaron Forsyth kind of had a mea culpa, at the end of it of, we shouldn't have let this out of the door in the first place. But you can't deny that Standard has been affected by this. The confidence of players has been affected by this. There were people that have, when the first announcement came out on Monday, they thought it was safe to invest in this deck. And Standard is the format that has the least risk when it comes to your cards getting banned or you're missing out on your investment. And now there are players going into this weekend. Emma Handy, wrote a Facebook post and was like, I've spent 40 hours playing this damn deck. The cards have been ordered. They are going to be sent to the venue. I can't order new ones. I've missed my window to pick them up at the venue. What am I supposed to play this weekend? I've seen many pros that are like, what are we supposed to do? Like Atlanta this weekend is going to be like the Wild West. And, even Channel Fireball, they've been really great about this. If you recently ordered a banned card, we will refund you or what have you. They extended it to when Top got banned, they extended that offer to Counterbalance, which goes along with it. They then opened that offer back up to Felidar Guardian. They're now taking back Saheeli Rai as well. And so and so the confidence in Standard has been radically affected, and I really don't know how they're going to come back from this because it's a big mistake, and I think that we're just now. I think that we've only begun to sort of see the ramifications of it.
I will say that it is unfortunate that it's tough to have a deck to play this weekend, but fortunately the rest of the deck for the Felidar Guardian Saheeli combo, the 4-color deck, retains a lot of its value. You can, other than the Saheelis, of course, are going to go down in value, but most of the rest of the deck, the lands, the other combo, the other setup.
What is the deck without the combo though? Is it just like a Jeskai mid-range?
It's just a 4-color mid-range stuff.
Why would you want to play that?
You wouldn't, but you can sell the cards or trade the cards at similar value.
I'm talking these are people that want to play it though. They're not necessarily interested in the value. These are people that wanted to play the deck, and the deck is useless.
Of course they wanted to play the deck. It was ridiculous. It was crazy overpowered. Yeah, okay. I don't have a lot of sympathy for I brought, I quickly bought all the cards for this broken deck that everyone is super pissed, and
I mean, there's a
weird. Tide. It's
but
weird.
Why not though? If the company told you on Monday and this was supposed to be that it wasn't going to be banned, and they said we're waiting for the Pro Tour, we need more data. As ridiculous as that is, if that's the thing, why would you not have faith in that? Why? Who would have thought that? When you're going over possibilities in your mind, how could anyone have thought in 3 days we're going to be here?
Well,
Who
the
could
other
have
half,
fathomed that?
Right. The other half that keeps it for me in check, and the fact that there's not a lot of sympathy there, is because I don't think all these cards, that the other cards in the deck, are just going to whoomph and just lose value. Versus when they banned a mythic and they banned the most expensive rare, that's seriously destroying.
When you ban Emrakul, the rest of that deck falls off a cliff.
But see, I'm not talking about. You're looking at. You're both coming at the value from the finance standpoint. I think it's the fact that the cards, if the deck goes, what other deck are these cards going to go in? It's not like the cards were interchangeable where, we'll talk about the legacy bans, but it's the Miracles players that are like, what are we going to do? Oh, what are you going to do with your Tundras, your Forest Wills, and your Volcanic Islands? I'm sure you'll think of something. With the with 4-color Saheeli going away and not being legal anymore, the value that you're mentioning, the financial value, is part of it. But I think the part that I'm arguing is that the deck just doesn't work anymore. And what are they supposed to do with those cards? They can't just slide them into another shell. The whole deck is just useless.
But we don't know that yet, firstly. And secondly, again, most of the other parts of the deck where there's a lot of uncommons in the deck. There's a few rares. There's basically like a scattering of planeswalkers. Some just run Chandra. Some run one of Sorin and Nissa or whatever.
Or Nissa, yeah.
Right. And again, these are cards that aren't just going to completely lose value. I think the only one that's going to tank immediately is Saheeli Rai. And that's where you have people, Channel Fireball buy them back. Cool Stuff announced that they'll buy yours back if you've bought any since Monday. So that's trying to help out those who have said, I'm going to invest in this because, they've said this. But again, it's just incredible that, first of all, this is even happening. But let's move on.
It's a necessary. I don't think that there's anyone, even the people who literally just bought the deck, is anyone saying this is a bad ban? Or people no, they shouldn't have banned Felidar Guardian, even though the timing is atrocious. Obviously, banning it the Thursday or the Friday before events are this weekend and cutting 4 days off of Pro Tour testing and all that, obviously that's bad. But other than the atrocious timing, is anyone saying that the ban itself is bad? Is anyone saying
that's the problem?
I've seen
that's
no
the goal, right?
No.
Is that You want people to be happy that this happened. Ultimately, not happy that they're losing value.
The
or they lost
implementation
time.
was not good.
Like, I'll admit, it sucks that Emma put so many hours into that deck. I mean, for real. I mean, I got nothing but sympathy on that one. But in terms of like other value than that, I don't think they've lost a ton other than Saheeli. And then you see these companies that are kind of reaching out.
4 days of time. That's the other thing, is you've lost 100 hours of Pro Tour testing time.
Mm-hmm.
And the confidence. Like I said, I think that this is something in terms of the image and in terms of how people feel about your game. I mean, I think that's been shaken as well, and I think that needs to be mentioned.
Sure. No, I agree with that. So banning 4 cards from Standard, which is supposed to be your flagship format, over the course of 18 months, 2 years, that's not a good look. With that said, the cat's out of the bag. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You have
Cat's out of the bag.
Wow.
Actually, the cat is back in the bag, and I got
definitely
that from LSD.
Should have put that as the episode title.
It's true. So
in any case, you get my point.
Let's back up to the first ban restrict announcement, because while everyone was lamenting and experiencing real pain because they didn't change Standard, they banned Sensei's Divining Top, and that basically banned the Miracles deck. And the Miracles deck in Legacy has been unbelievably successful, always been recognized as basically Tier 1, one of the most difficult decks to play, but one of the most rewarding if you know what you're doing. Yes. And so that often leads to a situation where the best player will usually win, which means that all the pros usually love it to death. And so it's banned, that's a thing. It's been banned. Well, it was banned and extended, and then later it was banned in Modern. I think it was banned in Modern from the start. I can't remember.
It was banned in Modern from the start. Okay. It was eventually banned and extended after like while. The next level blue deck was a thing for a while.
And also Dark Depths. It was a big thing in Dark Depths.
And also the Hexmage Depths deck. We're going back into some old history here, but it was. It had, and then that was another combo that was in Standard for like 3 months. Like, Wizards really likes to do weird experimental things for 3 months. Mm-hmm. Like when they had Infect and Rancor in the same format for 3 months. Like, they just do weird, it's only in Standard for 3 months. What's the worst that could happen? And they let that happen back with the old core sets.
Right. And that was cool because they had the ability to kind of turn those knobs for a very short amount of time, but now we're kind of... You're there for
Countertop was in Standard for a little while. I remember, Evan, you made a video back in the day where you were like, I'm playing Flames of the Blood Hand and all this, like, red spells. And then somebody played Countertop against you and you're like, well, can't beat that thing ever.
I lose. I was just playing some mono red, janky jank, and I just died because they counted everything.
So, sorry, back to getting out of the time machine again. Feel free to, bring us back up to speed.
Either way, we have Sensei's Divining Top being banned. Aaron, now there's some gnashing of teeth. There's some people that are upset because what are they supposed to do? What are they supposed to do with these thousands and thousands of dollars worth of cards that are probably going to lose very little value because they're amazing cards that are available in every other Legacy deck?
Bless their hearts. I think it's... So this is something that has been a long time coming. I think we talked about this on the show, and Ruben, you even did some research into like how many years of dominance, Sensei's Divining Top and Miracles has enjoyed in Legacy, and 4 to 6 years of just consistent top eights.
Every Legacy Grand Prix has had at least one Miracles deck in it since Counterbalance was printed.
Yeah. Feline Longmore had some graphs as well that she had found on Twitter, and it was like the bar graphs. And with every year, I think she had like 3 years worth of graphs. And the Miracles bar was always significantly longer than like the next best thing. Like you couldn't even compete with that. And so, and also too, the games took a really long time. That's really been a big complaint at the top, is if... I swore I was going to get through this episode without snickering, and I just completely failed. But
some people, they top so hard, they top too hard, and you're like, could you stop topping? And they're just like, top, 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 top. End of your turn, top, 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 top.
But one of the big complaints about Sensei's Divining Top is it makes coverage really painful, and that it's very difficult to make entertaining, and that people at home get really bored with it, and it also makes the games go long. If you've ever played a Legacy GP, and if you go past time, odds are it's Miracles players. And so there were a lot of good reasons for Top being banned. Those cards can easily port into other decks, thank goodness. And it does open the format up. Elves is a deck that was held back by Miracles. Storm was held back by Miracles. Even Burn didn't necessarily have a great Miracles matchup. And so it does really open the door for some movements into the format. It is funny seeing the Miracle players consider other cards. There was a really odd blue enchantment for like 1 blue, and it has
Soothsaying.
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 Well, was saying that like all the soothsaying in Brazil was sold out, and I was just like, oh girl. And so
uncommon from Mercadian Masks.
Somebody took a screenshot of it, and they were on Magic Online the other day, and somebody was actually playing it and like slammed it on turn 1, and it was like, oh my goodness. And so I'm really excited. You know, there's a lot of talk about whether or not Check Pile will become the next big thing. That's that 4-color control deck. Rug Delver might make a big splash. But the other good news is that with Sensei's Dividing Top gone, the focus is now on Deathrite Shaman, because everybody's gonna be running Deathrite Shaman now, and it's just like, oh my god, like if Deathrite Shaman became banned, let me tell you, I would run naked through the streets. Like it would be such a happy day. And so I'm waiting.
Yeah.
You guys, put it in every one of your decks and just yes.
Well, I will note that I was against the banning because I said, first of all, it's a very old format. They can do busted things. Something's always going to be the best. After this is gone, probably a Deathrite Shaman deck is going to be the best, right?
Sure.
And that's going to be the best for probably a good long while. And
but
either they're going to
answer a Deathrite Shaman with a card. Like you have to daze the removal spell. You have to do something. You don't have to. It's not that you just have to spend 1 mana. Like, you have to expend actual resources to get rid of a Deathrite Shaman.
And Deathrite allows you to play the game, too. Like, once you had the counter lock, your opponent just wasn't participating. Like, that's, you know, there's a difference between something being pesky and, like, kind of nibbling at you with, 1,000 paper cuts. It's another to just not be able to play the game. Like, that's the difference between how annoying Deathrite Shaman is and how annoying Countertop is. Like, there were decks that were kept out of the format because of this. And this deck was the only, people are talking about how now Legacy doesn't have a control deck. I don't buy that. I think there's just I think that this opens up the door for a new kind of control in Legacy. And I'm looking forward to it. I actually have a friend of mine, we're going to be playing Legacy tomorrow night on my stream, and just kind of see what the metagame's like, and I'm so excited for it. Right before Vegas even.
It's exactly the same logic. We are getting rid of 1/2 of the most powerful combo in the format, so that the format can evolve and thrive with more decks that were kept out of the format by that combo.
Yeah.
So it's literally the same logic, getting rid of Sensei's Divining Top and getting rid of Felidar Guardian. Sure. I'm seeing, like, relatively few complaints, even from Miracles players. Like, Joe Lisette is, like, the Miracle. Like, when you think Joe Lisette, you think Miracles.
You do, yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I had a lot of success with Miracles. Perhaps it is the deck most responsible for my growth as a Magic player. However, I am not, like, he's not an end of the world, no, they banned Top, woe is me attitude right now. So I think that most of the Miracles players are like, yes, and now what? Like, they're able to adapt and evolve.
Sure.
And those that aren't are like, oh, they banned my favorite deck, oh no. But and there were people who were like that for Felidar Guardian as well. But I think that people will get over it. People will find the control decks again. The format's not going to die because they banned Top. Like, get out of here.
Ultimately, so Vintage, they got rid of Gitaxian Probe and Gush in terms of getting rid of. They only restricted it because it's Vintage. Right. But yeah, those cards are busted. Basically, the only reason is Monastery Mentor. Monastery Mentor is just dumb.
I think Mentor should have been restricted. I think that was the answer.
I think Mentor could have been restricted. I definitely think Gush and Gitaxian Probe were problems.
Yeah. I think ultimately leaving
that
as an archetype, like, it's not going to kill Monastery Mentor decks. Right. It's going to weaken them. They're not going to be able to get quite as many free toys to play with, but they might still stick around. It
doesn't kill that deck by any means.
Right. Certainly. It's still a very powerful interaction.
Can we go back and talk about Modern for a second? Because I know that there were some people that were clamoring for Death Shadow bans. And they were really surprised that didn't happen yet, and I wasn't surprised. I think the format is fine. I think Modern is fine. I do find it interesting, and I saw some people kind of picking on Aaron Forsyth for this, because when he got in the Modern portion of his explanation, he says Death Shadow continues to be the best deck, but technology, like, condemn
Oh, that sweet, sweet tech.
Is starting to emerge in the
Condemn
format
is a
of
sicko
Heroes
against Death Shadow, to be fair.
It is, but it's just
It
so
is.
interesting that he uses that card as the example for why we gon' be aye. And it's like, you know, people have been, I mean, Condemn is a card, Blessed Alliance, people have started playing. You've seen people using more Graveyard Hate, which is sad for me. But, you know, if you look on Magic Online right now, you know, going back to how important Magic Online is to making these decisions, Affinity is now the top deck on Magic Online. Death Shadow is close behind it. Dredge is close behind that. You're seeing like a 1% difference between all of the decks. You're not seeing this huge
Death Shadow's
gap.
not a problem. Death Shadow's not an overwhelming force. Banning Death Shadow wouldn't shake the format in any measurable way.
Right.
Well,
it would just be
I think that Death Shadow is the kind of so my friend Daniela Diaz, if you don't follow her, you need to. She's Holy Diva on Twitch and Twitter. She has a lot of really good insights when it comes to Modern, and she talked about something the other day about how there's good broken and bad broken, and how there's broken that Wizards likes and there's broken that Wizards doesn't like. And she talked about, for example, that if Storm was putting up the numbers that Death Shadow was putting up, it would absolutely be banned. There's no way they would stand for it. If Tron was putting up those numbers, no way. But Death Shadow happens to be more of a creature combo deck, which Wizards seems to enjoy. You know, and it was very interesting that she had that discussion, and that, you know, there's the good kind of ban worthy and then there's not. And I think that's something we often don't talk about, is that it is personal a little bit. You know, we talked about that when Troll got banned, of, you know, you simply don't like Dredge. That was a huge part of it. They do consider it to be a mistake. And that there are some mechanics that Wizards likes and they want people to do crazy things with. And then there are things that if it was that deck, then they would step in and say, you've gone too far.
Sure. So let's keep moving here to a interesting report from Hasbro. So every quarter, you know, companies as large as Hasbro with all their ridiculous shareholders, they have to talk about their finances, and they do this publicly, and they say, here's our quarter 1 2017 presentation and what happened, here's our earnings release and whatnot. And while I believe I heard someone say that they heard on the phone call, they said it was down, that Magic was down 2%. I can't find it in the actual document.
I forget who said it. I thought I saw...
But either way, it does acknowledge that Magic is down, that Magic sales have gone down. However, it explains it by talking about the storyline, which basically means...
They're doing some verbal gymnastics in this article that I just do not get.
Well, first of all, note how they always include Hasbro Gaming as one big unit. And they never say Monopoly made this and Magic made that. Whereas before, if Magic made really big gains, they would absolutely call out those big gains, which is fine. I mean, this it's kind of sort of how the dance works in these types of situations. However, you know, despite it being down, they're saying basically it's the small set, because it's Ether Revolt and it's not a big set. Then that's why the sales are down, because Amonkhet's here. The second quarter should be just fine, and blah blah blah. Of course, Iconic Masters is going to do good things for them later in the year, which is nice. And can we just talk about that just for a second? We're a week in, right? Like they confirmed Iconic Masters the morning after. We've been living with it for a little while. I mean, you know, again, the more I think of it, I think two things are true. One, that event is going to be insane. That event is going to be the most sick, hype, crazy promote. You know what I mean? Like their marketing department. Their marketing department killed it. So good job, guys. Literally, you came up with the best idea.
Yep.
But the second thing that's true is that you have literally an entire spoiler season and a large set release in between the ability to buy Iconic Masters. So here's how good Iconic Masters has to be. It has to be so good that after we completely look at and talk about and do everything with Ixalan that you possibly can,
which is a large set.
You have to be.
That we haven't seen the world of.
I want to buy a $10 booster pack of this set that you told me about a month ago, 2 months ago.
Yeah, it's really.
That's just killing me. That's really weird for me. You know, partly just because I'm a Magic player, and the other half is because, you know, I work for cool stuff. I want to make people excited about Magic. But, you know, sets are cool. How does that happen? I hope now. Some rumors are around, and some of the rumors is that they might do another Zendikar-esque, you know, hidden treasures.
Oh no!
If you pull Black Lotuses out of those packs, people are going to be pretty excited about it. And
first of all, that's not hidden treasures. To this day, is non-confirmed, right?
To this day, Wizards cannot confirm nor deny, for legal reasons, the existence of hidden treasures in Zendikar. However, clearly they didn't accidentally put in a ton of power in all of those packs and a ton of dual lands and other cards.
Well, they accidentally put in Felidar Guardian, so hey.
This guy.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it is weird time. I mean, you only have so many days in the year, right? You only have so much time to show off all of your cool toys. And 25 years into Magic's existence, spoiler season has become a thing that we go through every 3 months.
Sure.
Look at what's coming. Every 6 months, we get to see a whole new world, a shimmering place that we never knew. And sorry, my Disney button got hit. And and fitting in these Masters sets has sort of been a little awkward. Even with Modern Masters, the first one, there was so much hype, but it was during another spoiler season. A lot of that is really awkward to do, and it's compounded by the fact that we don't even really know what Iconic Masters is supposed to be still. Like, it's going to have some of the most iconic creatures and some of the most iconic spells and whatever that means.
Angels
and theoretically,
and demons.
Right, angels and demons and hydras and sphinxes and dragons, right?
Dragons.
Did I miss dragons? Yeah.
Dragons.
So it's going to be those cards plus some iconic spells of various kinds, and that's going to be the set, I guess. But like, you're cutting short the advertising window for this Masters expansion that is, I don't even know what the point of it is. And you're also sort of detracting away from other advertising space that you could be using advertising Ixalan, right? So it's sort of like trying to, like a major franchise trying to release two of the movies from the same franchise at the same time, right? Like, it'd be like if you tried to release Iron Man 4 and Thor 4 on the same weekend.
Or maybe a better way to think of it is, what if you could see Avengers, like these one group of people saw the next Avengers movie, and then a new Iron Man movie comes out, and then the Avengers movie comes out.
Like a month later. Yeah.
2 months later, the Avengers movie actually comes out, and a month later, the new Iron Man comes out.
That's a little weird.
It's just weird. It's just kind of off-putting. Like, Aaron, are you going to Hascon? Are you going to do this? Are we Iconic Mastering?
I would love to.
It falls on. It's close to Gen Con, isn't it?
Isn't it later in the year? I thought it was in September.
Hascon. Well, I'm going to meet up with my bronies.
I'll be going to Eternal Weekend if I have to choose.
I'm not a brony. Hascon.
Not if there's anything wrong with that. September 8th through 10th,
September 8th through 10th.
No, I will be saving my shekels for Eternal Weekend.
That's in Providence, Rhode Island. It's at the Hasbro headquarters, not at the Wizards.
Of course, because it's more than just Wizards now.
Well,
again,
that's so far away from me.
I mean, well, again, so we don't even have an event that is announced exactly. We have, like, this is what the event is going to be, but how many people can enter it? What is the cost? How many timers are people going to be able to play? Is this going to be like a GP thing? Is this going to be like they're running drafts all day? Like, we're not really sure, but people will get their first chance at the Hascon, which will be pretty awesome for what it's worth.
I mean, I would love to go to Hascon.
That would be pretty terrific.
Yeah.
So moving on here, Aaron, tell us a little bit about a milestone, or I guess sort of an end of an era that you experienced.
Oh, man. So for those who don't know, I start podcasts. I've actually started 2 since I've been in the community. The first show I started was called The Deck Tease, and made it to a little over 100 episodes. It was an interview-style show. And then I started a all-female roundtable called The Girlfriend Bracket, which was the first all-female roundtable show, sort of like the Brainstorm Breweries or the A-Teams and things like that. And we recently wrapped up our show. Our 100th episode aired last Friday, and we decided that we weren't going to record anymore for just growing up reasons. One of my co-hosts is in veterinary school and it's very demanding, and another one of my co-hosts is recently single and they're kind of going through their own transition, and so we kind of wanted to end it on a high note, and so we decided to wrap up the show. And it's been a really amazing run, and I'm really happy with the work that we did in the community and my words.
And just your words do things.
My words just escape me, but just the recognition that we received, and it was a really big honor to do the show. And now I'm just solely Magic Mike. So yeah.
Wow.
Mono Magic.
We have you.
Yeah, but it was a really great feeling. Like I said, it was something I did because I wanted to enjoy podcasting again, and I wanted to do something that had never been done before. And it was really great seeing all the feedback from women and non-binary folks that we helped, and just doing our part to sort of inject a little diversity in the community. So if you haven't listened, go back and listen. I'm very proud of all the work that we did, and go follow all my co-hosts because they're wonderful, and I'm just really proud of it. So.
All right. So
yeah, it was I mean, for its time, it was an iconic podcast in a time in which podcasts weren't as iconic as they had been. Podcasts like the Deck Tease and In Contention and the A Team, and shows like that. There was a time where podcasting was the big thing. That time sort of has passed at this point. To do more YouTube content, things like we're doing here with the live stream. Streaming is obviously a much bigger thing, but the girlfriend bracket maintained its clout. It maintained its spot in the community in a way that I don't think many podcasts have been able to do before or now. And the other thing that I was really impressed with is that a lot of shows in general, sitcoms, Netflix originals, whatever, just keep going until they're not good anymore, right? We were talking about Sex and the City in the pre-show. Scrubs is another one. Dexter. Some shows don't know when to quit. And Seinfeld left out on top, right? Avatar: The Last Airbender, after 3 seasons, people were like, we just want more. Girlfriend Bracket, episode 100, same thing. People are just like, I'm so not happy that this won't be a part of my life anymore.
Yeah.
And that's where you want to end shows, is when you're going out on top.
Yeah, it was really important that we did that. And I mean, we really got lucky. You talked about how, shows kind of become iconic or whatever. We really just picked a really good time to come out. Gabby Sparks' big article had debuted at Channel Fireball, and that really ignited the conversation about women in magic again. And we were able to sort of ride that wave where, people had consumed Gabby's content, they'd consumed MTA, and they were like, now what? Like, who else can we support? And we were like, and so we really capitalized on that wave, and we really rode the wave, quite frankly, and we were able to do the Community Super League and Streamer Showdowns, and from there it just sort of snowballed. And it really was sort of the perfect storm of people wanting change, people wanting to know what they can do, and our show being an avenue for that. So again, I'm really proud of everything we did, and I'm just looking forward to getting some rest.
Yeah,
I've done nothing but just shows, and it's really nice to just sort of have a show like ours where I get to just sort of be the talent for once. I don't have to
show up with your opinions, and you just make it happen. That's what you do.
How many of these have we done?
80 something.
80.
Yeah.
Let me check. No, it might be.
We're getting to that triple digit. Aaron quits the show time.
God, we're getting so close.
Oh man!
Wow,
YouTube
are we gonna hit 100 during the summer? We got to do the math on that.
We'll have to definitely do some math and figure out where that's going on. But congratulations, and I guess condolences to those who are missing.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
That's good. That's really good.
We are currently on episode 89. This is our 89th episode.
2 years, guys. 2 years.
89.
Well, I felt like
11 weeks from now.
I wanted to make a program, and I wanted to make it something. I wanted to make it a little different. I wanted to sort of bring, again, sort of a visual type cast, because I felt like everything was definitely trending towards the streaming era, and we're streaming. Hi, everybody. So that's kind of where I want us to be, and I think it's weird. But we still publish ourselves as a podcast. I'm not going to ever stop that, but because I want to give people options. But ultimately, I wanted everybody shows up on Wednesday night. We kind of hang out. We talk about all the magics. We don't talk about necessarily the decks or whatnot. We talk about the zeitgeist, because I love the zeitgeist. I'm the culture. Right. I'm a culture junkie. So either way, congratulations. It's fantastic. Gather the Townsfolk is next, and the MTG Art Show is happening. The MTG Art Show
got funded.
It's so funded. Here we go. So I'm going to bring up the Kickstarter right now. Let's see. Aaron, could you give us a little rundown on what it's about? And I want to pull up some really cool artwork.
Yeah, so I donated to this. I think Ruben also kicked in a little bit too. So basically what they're trying to do is they are looking to bring an art show, a certified art show to Grand Prix Vegas. There's the possibility of cosplayers. You get to see, there is a community in the game that lives for this kind of thing. I had no idea. And you can actually see people are going to be bringing their own pieces. Artists are going to be bringing one-of-a-kind pieces as well. And with this being successful, with this Kickstarter succeeding, this could also pave the way for more art shows, turning GPs into more conventions and not just necessarily tournaments that you go to get some pro points and get some cash. There has been a push for this for some time. And I think the fact that the art show met its goal means that we very well could see this. There could be like an art tour. And I'm completely looking forward to it.
And that would be fan-freaking-tastic. So I'm going to pull up here on the screen now Save that, bring it up, and right here we have a few sketches. These are sketches that you're going to be able to see at the show, which is really cool. And we're able to announce here that they're actually going to do something with these sketches that they show. They're going to pick a random supporter who is a part of the Kickstarter at $150 or more.
Wow.
And they'll pick a random one, and they get to take one concept or artwork off the wall and take it home on Sunday.
Wow. That's crazy.
That's insane.
Just yoink.
Just yoink.
The concept,
whichever one you like it.
art, for those of you who are playing along at home, has a lot of secondary market value in addition to just being a sweet just thing to have. And if you want to be a part of this, there are currently 11 backers at the $150 or more level, right, with 30 spots available. So you can still get in on that.
Right. And so this thing has 9 hours to go.
Yeah. And they're at 18K. They're over 18K.
They're at 18.3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have officially funded. However, they are trying to get to a stretch goal of $20,000. Now, Magic players, we can make it happen. We can do this.
Now.
For $20K, they're going to hire a team of cosplayers led by Moxie MTG, who is awesome, who I would love to meet and hang out with.
Mox.
Which would be totally sweet.
She's great.
So they're going to get Moxie MTG and 10 additional cosplayers to host the Magic Art Show. Basically, you'd have all these cosplayers like kind of leading you around or talking about things. It'd be so cool. So that would be totally awesome. So not only do you have the super cool, one of the 150 plus supporters is going to get a free sketch of their choice, which is going to be amazing. We have the ability to make this thing even bigger, even cooler. And it's just really awesome. Even if they don't reach that stretch goal, like check out what happened. Like we funded this thing. We made it happen. It's absolutely fantastic.
Mike Linneman is just Vorthos Mike on Twitter, hashtag MTG Dogs. He just like poured this out of his brain. It's a spectacular project that he's managed to put together, and I'm really excited to see, especially for events, things like GP Vegas. Or something like Hascon. This would be another great thing to be a part of. I love the effort and passion that he's put into this. And I think that all the folks who've supported this. I mean, I supported it to get the playmat. I think everybody's going to be really happy with all of the hard work and dedication that he's poured into this. And if they get to the stretch goal of cosplay stuff, I may. I'd been working in my head deciding if I could put together a Ronus, because we did Ronus for our preview. Oh my goodness. And I haven't seen anybody building a Ronus yet.
Wow.
And a bunch of the cosplayers had been building gods of various types, and I haven't seen the snake god yet, and I think I'd be a pretty good snake god. So if they get to that, I will volunteer to be the snake god.
Wow. You heard it here first.
Whenever I see you mentioned Moxie MTG, who's MJ Scott, and whenever I think of MJ, I think of how easy she makes cosplay look. Yeah, I'll never forget, she wrote an article for Gathering Magic where she just uses things around her house. She wrote an article where she did a noble hierarch, and she looked amazing. And do you know what she used? She used sweatpants. Mm-hmm. She had a pair of green sweatpants from like college just hanging around the back of her closet. She cut them up, threw them on her head. I would look insane if I left the house with sweatpants on my head. But she did it in such a way where like she had the veil, she had the staff, sweatpants. I was like, get out of here. And like she just does things that she's just a fierce queen. Like I love everything about her.
That's amazing. God, everybody in the chat reminded me that I have to be Rona. Snake god.
It's the snack. You gotta go full snack, bro.
Snack god.
Snack. Oh, it's gonna be so good. Snack god, best god.
Right. So yeah, if they do that, look, I've never done anything this related. I've never done any costume creation or any of this stuff. I'll figure it out. Like I'll go buy whatever the things I need to do to make my slapdash Rona god of snacks.
I wonder if I could join you and do Bantu, because Bantu has officially been considered.
I think Justin Ricks is doing Bantu.
Bantu is a lady, though. Is it? She's a lady, yeah.
Oh. Yeah, it's okay.
Well, I don't know who's. I saw pictures of Bantu being created.
What are they called?
No, Justin did
the gender
Hazaret.
flip. I can't remember.
Justin did Hazaret.
I
think Justin did Hazaret or
fine.
Hazmat. Hazmat.
All right. Either way, so let's move on here. So Magic Online, it's a program.
It is. Well,
you know, sometimes
it's a program for
argue.
it's a program in like .exe 1994, but either way, it's a program that runs and does things, and sometimes it's great that Magic Online acts just like paper. It's great. It's cool. Sometimes you want Magic Online to not always act exactly like paper. Just like, and we had this conversation, this was honestly I think going on years now, where you remember when they just had to treat the people in the feature match of the Pro Tour just the same way as they did out in the floor? That's a problem. Well, okay. So I see this tweet from Andre Strosky. And he says, I imagine I will lose so many games because of the exert bug as I just use attack with all every single combat. So let me explain what that means. First of all, he's not really talking about a bug, he's talking about a design choice. Now, here's the design choice. Right now, you have exert creatures in Amonkhet. They're attacking, they do stuff, okay, awesome. Now, my expectation when I decide to attack with all of my creatures, and one or more of them has exert on them, my expectation is that Magic Online, like it has before, comes up and says, hey, here's this thing. Now, it's not a win or an if trigger. However, it could be used and programmed as such. It comes up and says, hey, this guy exerts. You want to exert him? You have that option, where it says, like, always say yes or always say no or just yes or just no. That was my expectation. If I attack with Glorybringer along with all of my other guys when I say attack with all, and it says, yo, Glorybringer can deal 4 damage. You cool with that? And you just say, no all the time or yes all the time, and that's fine. It's what you do. No. What it does when you say attack with all is it just attacks with everybody, and that's it. Whew, done. And no options on exert, nothing. You have to individually right-click and then say attack and right-click and attack with exert and right-click and attack and right-click and attack with... Okay, that's not super crazy, ridiculously annoying. And so, as such, I think there was some correct... arguments that this was poor design. And again, this is not technically necessarily how the real world works, because in the real world, again, whether how they do it, you tap all your guys and you say exert, exert. This guy exerts, this guy exerts. Sometimes you can even use those little counter things, but that's how it works. And when Magic Online is doing something that you feel you would have a little bit of help on, a little bit of notification, it does not. And so how important would this be to you guys in terms of you're attacking with things like it's kind of the feel bad, right? It's the definition of how big is this feel bad before it becomes a real problem.
So my concern when I first heard about this is I saw the clarification on social media. Like, I saw the tweet about it saying, hey girl, if you're trying to attack, this is what you need to do. What about people who don't have social media? Like, was this posted anywhere else? Like, how were people was this maybe like on the front page of Moto? Like, how did people know about this is my question.
Right. So
did they just trial and error?
Well,
basically.
Right. They basically updated Tumblr, and so they said, hey, they're proud of all the work that the team did, and for what it's worth, again, I want to say big kudos. Magic Online team got that set on that Monday morning. That's fantastic.
Sure. It's great.
Way to go. But here we go. They try to explain. They say, where's the confusion coming from? You attack with all, you don't get prompted. Okay. They said, why was it designed this way? There's several options, and they were not chosen. The easiest to look at the options that weren't chosen and the reasoning. Have attack with all, not attack with creatures with exert. The player must add them separately.
Yeah, I hate that one.
That one's not good because it's weird, and that one would make even worse problems. And I agree, it shouldn't have been used. Secondly, add a prompt after you declare attackers for each creature with exert. Now, this was the expected.
Absolutely.
This is the expected behavior from me. And here's the reason. They say this option was rejected because it required extra clicks. I'm calling BS. The BS has been called. Shenanigans has been called, okay? Because you cannot tell me that this prompting is going to make more clicks than if I have to individually click every creature and say attack with exert. That makes no sense. If it's a dev thing, that's okay. Developer time is expensive. Your resources are finite. I get it. But don't tell me that this extra
Yeah.
clicks thing was how you killed it. That's ridiculous. And the second,
Yeah.
and then the second was add a second attack with all option, so that creatures with exert will exert. And I also don't think this is a very good idea because sometimes you don't want everyone exerting. You just want some of them as you pick and choose. You know, like you would be prompted, like you think it would work that way. So
I think that they could have the little, you know, the window that comes up when you accidentally tap too much mana. I do this all the time now because of these monuments that are in this Amonkhet draft format, where it's like I tap 4 lands for my 4-mana creature, and then I just have an extra mana in my mana pool. And then at the end of the phase, it's like, you have an extra mana in your mana pool, it will leave at the end of the phase. Are you sure you want to go to the next phase? Have windows like that pop up. You're attacking with an exert creature. Do you want to exert the creature? It's easy. Just a yes or a no box per exert creature that you're choosing to attack with. That is less clicks than the other options.
Yeah.
There's again, I feel like partly for me this just feels like a dev time issue, and that is totally cool. There's nothing wrong with that.
Are you familiar with Norman doors, Evan? Do you know what a Norman door is, Aaron?
It sounds vaguely familiar.
No.
So a Norman door it's named after this guy named Don Norman, who wrote The Design of Everyday Things. It's called a Norman door because it's a poorly designed door. You ever go up to a door that has a handle on it and then you pull it and then it doesn't pull and it pushes instead?
Yeah.
Or you have like a bar on the bottom and you like try to push it and it doesn't push and it pulls instead? That's a poorly designed door. It's not designed for a human brain to interact with.
Okay.
So that's what's happening here with this exert stuff on Magic Online. The way that it's been implemented doesn't interact with the way that human brains work. So it's just they just need to design a better door. And they just chose to not do that. They just gave you a regular, door with handles on both sides. And one side of the door, sure, it makes sense to pull it, but then the other side of the door, when you want to exert the creature, it doesn't make any sense.
So yeah, I think that's a fairly good analogy of expected behavior versus what they're getting. So we're gonna move on here. There's some really cool prizes that were revealed for Eternal Weekend. And Eternal Weekend is coming, and they give away paintings to the winners. Paintings usually of very popular, famous, iconic Magic cards. And lo and behold, Steve Belladin got to paint Black Lotus. And I bring it up here on the screen, his blog, and of course the link will be in the show notes and whatnot. But the Black Lotus, he kind of goes through the process of talking about it. He feels like there's a weight behind it because this is Christopher Rush, and Christopher Rush died, and here they are making another Black Lotus and what that means. And so he was able to show you sort of the exact process of how he got to the finished painting, which is of course beautiful and gorgeous and incredible. Mm-hmm. And I can only imagine, and Aaron, you'll be there to see it live and in person, how sweet it would be.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be vying for this one, correct? This is for the vintage winner. Are you vintaging?
Yes. If I can get my hands on Bazaars, I will absolutely be vintaging. Otherwise, if I can't, then I'll just be playing Legacy and just sort of soaking up the environment, because I'm so intimidated to go because these people are like, to see Stephen Menendian and see Rich Shea, and it's like I look up to them so much, and they are pillars of these formats, and just to see. I just feel like such a noob, and I'm like, I don't feel like I'm worthy to go, but I'm going to go, and I'm going to have a good time, and I'm going to make a bunch of mistakes, and it'll be a really good time.
Oh, man. 10 years ago, me and Steve Menendian roomed together for the 2007 Magic Invitational.
That is great. That is a fabulous little factoid.
Which is pretty cool. So,
it takes a lot for me to queen out over people. I've interviewed a lot of pros. I'm on a first name basis, a lot of big names, but for some reason, running into vintage people, that makes me freak out. If I'm ever streaming vintage and I face Rich Shea, it's like, oh my God, I'm sick. I can't. I don't know what it is, but it's just going to be a mess.
Steve Menendian, the man who wrote an entire book about Gush.
Gush that just got restricted, by the way.
Well, it was restricted, remember? And then it was
restricted when he wrote the book. That's true.
So it was unrestricted, and now it's restricted again. I can only imagine, maybe they'll write another book about it. Who knows?
Yeah, exactly. Write an entire book about Gitaxian Probe next time.
But the guy is
totally I was really excited by this article for another reason, beyond the fact that this is a fabulous prize, and beyond the fact that Steve Belladin has been a fixture in the Magic art community for so long, and that Wizards gave him this big project. I mean, this is a thing that you don't just hand to any artist.
Right.
This is a thing that you have to. The art director, who I think was Cynthia Shepard, you need to research and think about who you're giving these kinds of iconic pieces to. And I think that Steve really, I mean, you read this blog post, it's like 3,000, 4,000 words on his thought process and knowing all of the gravitas that comes with doing this piece of art. The first line that he writes in the blog post is, "The vast majority of work that I do has no baggage attached to it." Black Lotus has quite a bit of baggage attached to it. And the other thing that was exciting for me is in the post later down, he mentions that not only is there a physical, so the prize version is going to be a printing, I assume. Mm-hmm. Then the finished piece is oil on hardboard. Wow. There's an 18 by 13 physical copy of this in Steve's house. And there's a study. He did a color study that's slightly smaller. It's 10 by 8.
The finished final work that's what they're giving away, correct?
Are they giving away the finished oil?
Yeah.
I would assume
they were printing it on a card like they used to do. I can't
imagine winning an event like that and getting a print and being like, "Here, girl, find yourself a frame."
I thought they were putting it on a card like they used to do for like the Ancestral Recall. Got the big oversized card.
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I would think it's the actual like art.
In either case, there's more than one. There's two if there's a color study out there.
Yeah.
Which is a smaller, travel-size Black Lotus painting by Steve Belladin, which I thought was really cool. And the whole process that he describes of the process of getting the description and saying that they want it over top of water, like a lotus might be, and having metallic petals. And all of the little intricacies of, okay, do you want it like this? Do you want it like this? Do you want it like this? And little tiny changes that you can do with all of the little options. I thought it was a really fascinating piece.
Super sweet. So let's keep moving now. So this is something you guys kind of brought up to me, and I read a little bit about it. There's been some difficulty with game stores, good old friendly local game stores in China, and that Wizards' new policies are making them close the game store locations, mainly because they don't necessarily have the space in the store to do things, so they do things sort of outside the store or next door or in a restaurant across the street or whatever. Ruben, can you tell me a little bit more about sort of where this came from and what all this stuff is talking about?
Sure. So you may recall a couple, maybe 6-9 months ago, we had a relatively long discussion on local game stores in Europe, specifically in England. Losing their WPN status, having difficulty getting licensing for Magic the Gathering events, and it happened in Germany, I think, a couple other mainland Europe locations as well. And this is just another step forward in that, another example of it being very difficult for LGSs that aren't in the United States and aren't in Canada and other places that are, relatively big countries. With new world scale cities being able to run local game store Magic events, because the rules under WPN say that you have to have a physical location, brick and mortar building that you run your Magic the Gathering events in. It can't be a residential building, can't be a dual purpose building. You have to run the event in the store where you sell the product as well, which was the problem in England when there was the small local game store and they would run the tournaments upstairs in some other, like the bar's restaurant area or something like that. China appears to have even more restrictions. If you don't mind, I'm just going to read the letter that this particular game store received. Dear store owner, our current policy requires that Magic card stores should not be located in a residential building, commercial or residential dual-purpose building, or a side business of a store. The Magic card stores must be adjacent to roads or streets or beside markets, and they must have signboards. Within 3 months, current stores must be refurbished or relocated, and the store area must be larger than 40 meters square. Videos of the store, the license, and the rental contract must be provided as evidence of relocation. Jesus. After 3 months, if the stores do not meet the requirements, their WPN licenses will be suspended. That's much harsher than I recall the England requirements, if I'm recalling correctly, and I've never heard of that being needed for the United States. Now, specifically, I was mentioning how new world scale cities is the problem, right? In the United States, we have these cities that are just spread out all over the place, right? Sure. I live in Las Vegas. the roads are wider than they need to be. If you go to Salt Lake City, the roads are so wide. Little factoid for you, because they wanted to have 10 horse wide carriages be able to do U-turns in the street.
Wow. So
streets in Salt Lake City are 2.5 times wider than American cities. Meanwhile, you go to Dublin, and they got like little tiny cobblestone streets, right? So you don't have a ton of space to put anything in Dublin, in Dresden, in Beijing. Boy, howdy, do you not have room to put anything in Beijing? And so that's going to make it really difficult to find a 40-meter square location to run Magic tournaments. And it's just going to make it so that Magic tournaments can't even be, on top of all the other problems like getting cards overseas and stuff like that, it's going to make it even harder to be able to run Magic the Gathering events in China. And so, I just wanted to bring more attention to it. Not everybody's on Reddit. Not everybody is a 20 to 45-year-old male. So not everybody goes on Reddit. And so I wanted to bring that attention to this problem, because it's a big issue in places that, don't have a ton of space. Like, we don't have this problem in Orlando, in Las Vegas, in Dallas, these cities that are massive, spread out over hundreds of miles. But they have this problem in old style cities.
Yeah, I mean, to give these stores 3 months, I was fascinated by the videos of the store part, because I've never heard of. I have friends who are TOs and who own LGSs, and I've heard that sometimes they make you record like destroying sensitive material. Like sometimes they give you promotional material and they make it clear that it's not meant to be given to the public, and you have to sort of prove that you've done that. And I've heard of that before, but I've never heard of stores having to do like a pan around of their venue to show that it's clean, to show the license, to show the title, the rental contract, what have you. I've never heard of that before. And I even asked a couple of people before we recorded, I sent a couple of DMs and I was like, have you ever had to, or have you ever? And they were like, no, they were like, we've done X, but we've never done Y. And I can think of several stores that maybe should take a camera around to show Wizards what they're really about. But that was fascinating to me, and sort of the idea of, it kind of sounded like a math problem almost, of like, well, you can't be in a residential building, but you can't be in a commercial residential hybrid building or be a side business. And it's like, well, where the hell are you supposed to go? Like, what does that leave? Like, I don't understand. And like, I can only imagine what these owners are feeling. And again, being given 90 days to do all of these things. And, what's to say you can't find a space? What's to say you can't make the renovations in time? Right. That's a lot of pressure to put on a business that, tends to be kind of mom and pop like, or self-sufficient, that may not have the budget or the manpower to do all of these things. Quite frankly, it's a lot. It's
definitely restricting is the word, I think. Because again, what fits in America just doesn't fit in the rest of the planet. And and it's weird that's kind of the standard thinking. It's like, well, we've made these policies are what they are, and here we are again in a situation where the feature match is not the same as the people playing outside the feature match. America is not the same as the people outside America because of issues and things that you may not have to ever experience as an American in America.
Yeah, however, if you think about the rest of the world, if you've ever been to what's a really clustered city, like really downtown Manhattan, or super bustling San Francisco, like there's just not a lot of space.
No.
In those two cities in particular. Like there's enough space in Chicago, there's enough space in like DC, which are pretty bustling metropolises, but you go to the old, like Boston is another good example, where the roads are this big, and it's tough to fit an LGS there.
It's tough to be able to afford it, just period. All that space is at such a premium. However, we're going to move on to a slightly related topic, because I have to call this out. Wizards. It's me and you, okay? We got to fix this WER thing, okay? WER, Wizards Event Reporter, also known as WER, went down this past weekend. Because it went down,
right?
Because it went down, Cool Stuff Games, 5 locations. This is a problem, to the point where people couldn't get registered for the event. Slips weren't being printed out. Events were delayed by an hour or more, and that's a problem. And here's the killer. And here's why I'm even bringing it up. It's not that it happened. There's system problems and things happen or whatever. Okay, third time in a row, the third pre-release where WER goes down, and you can't do that because it creates incredible amounts of stress and problems for those who are trying to run the events. So as best I can figure, this is like the 3 times it happened were 3 different things, but it doesn't really matter, honestly. Like whatever stress test needs to happen before the Hour of Devastation pre-release, please do it, please, because the players are suffering. And I know it's weird and it's a little inside baseball and no one's really going to be affected by this except tournament organizers. But as players, you absolutely could still be affected by this and then be frustrated and create a bad experience. And we want to avoid those as best we can. So,
I mean, I understand that it's complicated programming, but like, how often are we going to talk about the way that tournaments are reported? Like Walter, or I think there was another one, right? There's one other event.
DCI Reporter.
DCI Reporter.
Right.
And all of them have individual issues in addition to their collective issues, but they all have individual weird things happening. You can't do this on a pre-release weekend.
I mean, just hearing people having to, like, you didn't get match slips, you got little pieces of paper, and you had to write your name, their name, your DCI number, their DCI number, how many match points, blah, blah, blah. I mean, like, dude, come on. We gotta fix this. And it's even more frustrating because it just, even over the years, I've seen judges, try to be proactive and say, hey, either I made my own DCI reporter or I made these tools for it, and Wizards is like, ka-chunk, shut down.
Can't use those.
Cut that crap out. And it's like, but your software is not very good, so we tried to fix it. So maybe there's a new kind of digital outlook, I think, at Wizards at this point. I think there's a new kind of design and sort of a culture that's being cultivated there now that Chris Cox is there. That's fair.
You think that they're going to open it up a little bit more, or you think that it'll be more Wozniak and less Jobs in that?
No, but I think that Wizards ideally this is not going to happen for Hour of Devastation. That's what I want to happen. I don't want players to suffer in ways that I've seen them suffer for reasons I would hope that are within Wizards' control.
Right. That's midnight pre-releases, I'm already exhausted by round 4. I don't need an hour delay in there.
I mean, having to run tournaments on paper, I mean, come on, guys. This is ridiculous. All right.
That is adorable.
That kind of adorable, still ridiculous.
Still ridiculous.
All right, so we're gonna have to move on here to the finisher. Quick shout out before we do to Melissa DeTora for now being full-time at Wizards.
Mm-hmm. Yay!
And she was on Tabletop.
And on Tabletop, man.
Which I haven't watched today. If you guys are unfamiliar with Tabletop, it's Will Wheaton's board gaming show that I am kind of obsessed with and think is great.
That's great.
And she's on it this week, which is excellent.
Man, it's all coming up to Tora, let me tell you. That's fantastic. I mean, if you're on Tabletop and you get the full time, it's freaking-tastic. Real quick, Josh B. from Moncton, I don't know, from Canada, okay? From Canada. I can't say things
Josh B. from Canada.
Josh B.
Woo, we did it.
Now, I believe, I'm not sure if we can ship things to Canada. I need to double check on that. But either way, you'll get a gift certificate worth a box, or you'll get the box. We'll figure it out.
Not ship things to Canada?
Wizards has restrictions on where sealed product can go from territory to territory. Sure. It makes things difficult.
We'll figure it out. Josh B. get at
But either way.
But remember, the set is called Amonkhet, not Amonkant.
What?
You're welcome.
Are we welcome? Are we now? All right. Now, this week, after the banned and restricted announcement part 1 on Monday, StarCityGames.com announced that they would be refunding customers who purchased Invocation Counterbalances after Sensei's Divining Top spun out of the format. CoolStuffInc has offered to buy back all Saheeli Rai's bought since Monday. This is excellent customer service, of course, but it got me thinking, what other format shakeups could result in order reimbursements? Ruben?
Well, get ready, guys, because another emergency banning that is coming on Monday will announce the unbanning of Earthcraft from Legacy, which means that I'm going to have to get a reimbursement on the order of pants that I just ordered because I just flooded my basement.
You've been wanting that forever.
Woo!
All I want in this life is Earthcraft and Legacy.
You talk about it a whole bunch. Whole lot of Earthcraft. Aaron?
Wring out the pants. With the release of Hour of Devastation, Wizards of the Coast will ban Deathrite Shaman from Modern and Legacy, so I can finally get reimbursed for the nonsense I've had to deal with over the last 5 years.
Wow. Straight nonsense.
reimburse you 5 years worth of time.
That's right.
Not bad.
Pain and suffering.
Now, at the end of this week, inspired by the pizza box that read Ban Felidar Guardian, another pizza box will arrive at Wizards, and that will finally inspire R&D to once and for all ban pineapple from standard, legacy, and modern pizzas. Every pizza.
I cannot condone. Bring
All
up the
this.
red zone graphic. We're gonna fight.
We're doing this. It's happening. It's ridiculous.
All of you.
Absolutely
Monsters.
ridiculous. So, ladies and gentlemen, that ends another episode of Magic Mike's. Aaron, thank you for joining us here.
Thank you for having me.
And Ruben, thanks for hanging out, buddy. Oh, he went mute. He went mute.
We lost him because
Yeah.
of the pineapple thing.
That was great.
Go in?
He
Are we
went-
good?
All right, we're good now. We're good. We hear you, buddy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ruben. You do you, buddy. You do you. As we go into our final slide. All right, here we go. So that ends another episode of Magic Mike's. Thank you guys for joining us here to discuss all things Magic. I want to thank our sponsor, CoolStuffInc.com, my co-hosts, Aaron and Ruben, you guys for watching, and hope you support us at patreon.com/magicmikes. Visit our website at magicmikespodcast.com that exists thanks to our Patreon supporters, or follow, like, tweet, favorite, share, subscribe, and do everything social that tells people that we exist. Catch us online at twitch.tv/magicmikes, on Twitter at magicmikescast, on Reddit at reddit.com/r/magicmikes, and on Facebook at facebook.com/magicmikes. Talk to us privately at magicmikespodcast@gmail.com. Follow the audio-only podcast at magicmikespodcast.libsyn.com, or find us on iTunes, or join us here next week. Same time, same place, for another episode of Magic Mike's. Good night, everybody.
You know, a Canadian Amonkhet would be Amenket.
Ooh, that was good.
Oh my
yeah.
God. Oh my God.